Next up, we have a series of students from Marcos Deniza who have been working on this crisis that has been they've seen in their high school. They've become a national model for this work. I'm excited to have them in committee. Thank you for their teacher for bringing them here today, and we will kick it off with Matt. And Matt, I'm going to make sure I say your last name right. Come on down, Matt.
Bergevin?
Bergevin, did we say that right? We'll just have all the students sort of come down and stand behind him so they're queued up ready to testify. And Matt, as we talked about, we'll limit testimony to about 2 minutes each and then ask questions afterwards.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Just for the record, my name is Matt Bergevin. I am the senior class president here at Marcos Deniza. I'd like to present a first-hand account and maybe just some information about vaping within our schools, not only ours at Marcos Deniza, but within the district and what we've seen. There seems to be a miscommunication within the terms. Vaping is considered a bad thing, something that is detrimental to your health or should not be done. However, juuling, hitting an air, something to that effect is perfectly okay and not something that we need to worry about. So there seems to be a disconnect and a miscommunication there within our friends and our students in our schools. There is a difficulty because of that miscommunication. There does not seem to be a ton of awareness about the issue and why people are pushing so hard for this issue to be resolved and to fight against the issue of vaping. Within research that we've done through this committee, I guess you could call it, at our school, we found that in certain vaping devices, one pod, it's called, is equivalent to about 20 cigarettes. So within one pod, which you can blow through in your first 3 periods, you're inhaling about the equivalent of an entire pack of cigarettes worth of nicotine. And that's a problem, obviously. And the problem on top of that is that kids don't see it as one because it's not vaping, it's juuling, it's hitting an air, et cetera, et cetera. What I would think, or what I would propose to help this is simply more education and a stronger hand against it. Kids just don't understand.
15 seconds.
Kids just don't understand the issue that it causes and the issue that it is. And so because of that, they don't see it as a problem at all, and they think of it as another thing to do. And because of that lack of education about how tough this is to overcome and deal with, they do it and they harm themselves and their friends. Thank you. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Senator.
Senator Rios.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for your presentation. You did very well. I'm curious, do you find that the majority of high school students are using products like Juul that already contain nicotine, or is there a percentage of students using other, and I'm not real clear on all the terminology, but other vaporizing products that typically might be used for medicinal marijuana?
Mr. Bergevin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Rios. Within the vaping paraphernalia, there are certain devices that just hold the nicotine for vaping, and there are certain devices that just have, we call it wax for marijuana and the THC, and those don't combine. Kids may use both of them, but you can't. I've never seen one that can do both. So that's all I have on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Senator Carter. Representative Rios, are you finished? Okay, Senator Carter.
Well, to that point, could you explain to the committee wax?
Okay.
Because I know you're using these terms, but if you don't have a teenager, you might not hear these terms talked about. But this is the way our teenagers in high school are talking about it.
Yes, ma'am, no problem. Wax is basically the, I mean, seriously, it looks like earwax, which is gross as it is. It basically is the THC equivalent that you're putting in your wax pen to inhale it. So think of it as if, I don't know, if you had a blunt and what you put in the blunt, same thing with the pen, is just the wax instead of the actual marijuana. I'm sorry, that's the best description I can give.
And Madam Chair.
Yeah. Madam Vice Chair, I'm feeling old.
Matt, you're making an entire committee feel generations older than they believe they are. But I think this highlights the disconnect between what's happening in high school and what parents, we think we're doing everything we can to tell our kids, whatever you do, don't smoke cigarettes, don't smoke marijuana. But when you start hearing your kids talking about, I don't even know what the appropriate, is it wax?
Juuling, hitting a pen, hitting an air, something of that nature, anything of any one of those can be considered.
So, Madam Chair, as
Madam Vice Chair.
as a parent, when you're talking to your kids about don't smoke cigarettes, don't smoke marijuana,
Okay.
they don't think they are doing that when they are doing all those things you just listed.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So if this bill, another side benefit of this bill is it hopefully will get an entire generation of adults such as ourselves,
Hip.
new vocabulary to talk to our youth as well. So
Senator Pace.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is vaping or juuling or waxing or whatever you want to call it, is it allowed on campus currently?
No, and it
Mr.
is
Bergevin.
strictly prohibited.
But yet they're still doing it.
They are. They have many ways to hide it, conceal it, figure out times to do it where they won't be caught, but it is strictly prohibited. At our school, we have put out banners, posters, we've had announcements, we've had teachers talk to our students about it. You cannot do this on campus. It's not allowed. We've had our security be talked to about this issue, and yet kids will still do it on our campus.
My question, follow-up
Mr.
question?
Senator Pace.
A follow-up question for you is, from your experience, how are your friends or peers obtaining vaping products?
Mr. Bergevin.
Well, I believe it was Senator Carter's testimony earlier, or it might have been yours, I'm sorry, I forget, but you brought up the idea of buying them online. As a 17-year-old kid who's been around this, I know maybe one person who's done that. The online acquisition of this, through what we've seen, just does not happen at a very high rate, if at all. The best way that these kids obtain it is through an older sibling, an older friend, or a shop that doesn't card, or they have a fake. Those are the ways that they get their devices. The online acquisition's rare.
Follow-up.
Senator Pace.
So it would, to rephrase that, is they're obtaining them illegally,
Mr.
right?
Bergevin.
From someone they know or from a person who's committed a crime.
Yes, sir.
To that point, or
Senator Allen.
I don't know if it's to the point, but it's on this line. Thank you, Madam Chairman. So you said with a fake ID, and is it very easy to get a hold of a fake ID? Well, I know it would be easy, but
Poor
I'm
man.
saying.
I'm going
What
to
I-
defend.
That's why I'm here.
What, my question, Madam Chairman and Matt, is, so I guess it's just common knowledge where you would go to get a fake ID? I'm just curious about that, 'cause
Mr. Bergevin.
Well, Senator Allen, actually, personally, I think it's very difficult to get in a fake ID. You have to find somebody that you know. They have to know somebody. They have to get it. I feel like it's expensive. Everything I've heard is that it's expensive. A fake ID, from the ways that I've listed that they acquire these products, is probably on like the lowest amount that it happens, the lowest rate of that's how they acquire the products. So I would say, at least for me and the people I know, it's difficult to acquire a fake ID.
well, and one more point, if I may, Madam Chairman.
Please, Senator.
Mostly it's a comment. I think it's so important for you as peers to speak out like you're doing and be a good example and try to help the other students understand, how dangerous this is and how it's not that's going to affect their studies and their future and everything. And reading the one thing that Senator Carter passed out to us about the young man spending $150 a week, that just, that's just unreal of how that pressure to keep up finding that money, which leads to probably doing some activities that might be illegal, which then leads to, other issues. And so this is a path that they can start down. So I just want to compliment all of you for being willing to stand up on this issue and to try to do something about it, because I think you have more of an influence actually on your peers than maybe their parents. And so, anyway, thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Mr. Bergerman, did you have a comment, or Senator Carter is wanting to say something?
Madam
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Senator.
So I wanted to make reference to why the issue in Title 36 is so critical to bring it back to this piece of legislation. In working with the Attorney General's office, who, if you look at your request to speak, Attorney General Mark Brnovich signed in support on behalf of himself as the Attorney General, saying he needs this statutory fix in Title 36, because in talking to them, when this illegal activity happens at schools, they do not have the statutory tools to address the problem specifically with e-cigarettes, because we've taken the definition out of that section of statute by creating that carve-out. We're going back to saying that was the wrong thing to do back in 2013, because they don't have the statutory tools that they need to go after all of this activity in the schools. That was part of our conversation about putting the bill together as well.
And Madam Chair, to that point,
Senator Navarrete.
so once the Attorney General does have that authority, and it sounds like they're going to be working within the schools to address this issue, what does that look like to the Attorney General, or what are you expecting that to look like?
Senator Carter.
Thank you. So the issue with this section, when we took the definition of e-cigarettes out of the definition that exists in statute for tobacco products, it also removed every statutory reference everywhere else that says kids shouldn't have access or smoke or use cigarettes. And it just said it over here to the side, 18 years and younger shouldn't have e-cigarettes. But the definition didn't capture the whole system. So when the Attorney General is receiving confiscated products from school and you're trying to prosecute this, the issue is, because it's separate from the definition of what a, quote, cigarette product would be, it doesn't have the same statutory direction to our prosecutors to go after this product. So all we're basically doing is saying, yes, this product should be treated just like a cigarette is treated.
And Madam Chair, just as a follow-up,
Please, Senator.
Senator Carter, so are you also saying that part of this bill, what happened is that the Attorney General's office can actually go into a school and prosecute anyone that has a vape or any type of device or nicotine, because technically it could just be the device alone. Under this legislation, will the Attorney General be able to prosecute on that, on the state's behalf?
Madam Chair.
Senator Carter.
To Senator Navarrete, the issue specifically is about putting the definition back in with cigarettes. So now, because we're updating the statute to modernize the definition, to looking at you have the picture, I sent it to you, all of that will be encapsulated. The individual that was at the meeting from the Attorney General's office said they're having challenges because of the way the device can be parsed and pieced out, and says, is it the I don't even know what these names are. Is it the pod that goes in, or is it the combustion piece, or is it the battery piece, or is it the pen, or is it they're called lots of different things.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
this is going to put all of that back in rather than as its standalone.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Senator
just
Navarrete.
one more follow-up. I guess the question I have is, or my concern, I guess I should probably highlight, is I just don't want the Attorney General's office going onto campus and prosecuting a child if they have a device in their possession, not even the tobacco or the nicotine itself.
Senator Carter.
So are you saying you are okay with kids in school vaping as long as it doesn't have nicotine?
No, that's
Senator
Madam Chair.
Navarrete.
Senator Carter, that is not
Because
what-
that's the
that
way
is
I
not- that-
interpreted it. so.
No. Please don't interpret it that way. I guess my concern is, and I'll try to be a little clear, is I just do have concerns of the Attorney General's office going onto a school campus, prosecuting a child over a device, versus, having the school districts deal with that in their own, under their own policy and under their own control.
Madam Chair.
Senator Carter.
So let me try to restate what I think you were saying. You're saying, does this bill give the Attorney General way more power than they already have to go into school and just do a sting operations in school and start, is that what you're saying? Because that's not what this bill does.
Senator
This bill
Navarrete.
allows the Attorney General to treat the product and all of the devices the same way they would treat a cigarette, but there's no additional
enforcement authority.
policing instruction to the Attorney General.
Okay, thank you.
That's all right.
Senator. No, you're fine.
I'm glad we finally got there. We have some, you know, there might be some, what I hear the Attorney General asking for is enforcement authority, whatever that would look like.
Like a cigarette.
Yeah,
Treat
like,
like a cigarette.
just by changing that definition. Who would like to testify next from some of,
I think it's Haley.
Haley White? From some of these just fabulous young leaders.
Hi, my name is Haley
Welcome.
White. I'm sophomore class president at Marcos Deniza currently. First, I'd like to thank the opportunity to be here in front of you all today. Vaping is a big deal at our school right now, and kids think it's a joke, and that this whole committee is just to snitch, but it's not. We are genuinely concerned about our peers' health and well-being because they do not understand the facts and long-term consequences that could come from putting these chemicals in their body. On a more personal thing, I asked a friend who was in my class and she was vaping. Our teacher did not see her because she was sneaking it in her backpack. I said, "Do you know what you're putting into your body?" She said, "No." I said, "You are putting a chemical called formaldehyde." And she said, "What is that?" I said, "That is a chemical used to compose dead bodies. You are putting that in your body as of this moment." And she gave me this like shocked expression where she was like, "Oh my goodness, that's not okay." And to this day, she has not done it in class ever since then. It's been a good month. And I'd like to, I think we just need to have more facts put out there for these children of age 13 and up to understand that this could cause long-term effects. We don't know what they are as of this moment, but it could be very dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony, Haley. Questions? Senator Carter.
Thank you. Haley, since you brought it up, thank you for bringing it up. Can you explain to the committee how, unlike cigarettes, because a lot of people are asking me, kids have been smoking on campus for generations. This is happening in class, in front. I mean, I've asked other high school students, how are they doing this in class? I mean, I used to teach middle school and high school. What are kids doing in class? How can you even miss this?
Ms. White.
Well, our class, it's my math class to be specific, it's a pretty big class, and our teacher sits in the back of the class when we work on work. And we are more towards the front, and only way I saw her doing it was because I could see smoke come out of her bag. And
Her
it's not
backpack.
out of her backpack, because she bends down,
Right, that's what they do.
and it looks like she's coughing, but she's not. And then you just see small little sections of smoke come out one by one because she's not letting it out all at once because she doesn't want to get caught.
Okay.
And Madam Chair,
Senator Carter.
I am so glad thank you so much for agendizing this bill, because if nothing more, we are getting just these stories out on public record. I've had kids tell me that they wear extra long sweatshirts. Am I right? They wear extra, so teachers, parents, when you're seeing your kids pull their arm in and do this, am I right?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. White. Kylie Christensen? Welcome.
Hi.
If you pull the mic down a little bit closer
Sure.
and speak right into it.
Okay. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak on behalf of the Tempe Union High School District. Not only do I have a personal experience with vaping, but I've also seen my peers participated in it as well. I've seen it expand into an epidemic that they view as cool and trendy, without thinking of the consequences and repercussions that come with vaping. Students are vaping in the halls, before and after school, and in classrooms. There needs to be something done in a district level to enforce new restrictions with vaping. Students don't see the detriment that comes with this to their health. If the consequences were stricter, I feel the students would be less likely to participate in school.
Thank you. Kylie, what year in high school are you?
I'm a junior.
You're a junior. Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there questions from the members? Okay, I think we're driving the point home. Next up is Tyler Marquez. Welcome, Tyler.
Hello, and firstly, I'd like to say thank you for having me and my peers here. My name is Tyler Marquez. I am part of the Junior Student Council in Marcos de Niza. And firstly, I'd like to start off saying that the tobacco industry, of course, has had a vice grip on lives and many people's daily activities and hobbies for decades now. And now, although the use of cigarettes is more or less dying out, the use of e-cigarettes is now sort of replacing these cigarettes. And although cigarettes are still seen as this gross and unused product, many of the teenagers that I know, many of the peers I have, would say that they would never use a cigarette, but they would 100% be okay with using a Juul or vaping, because there is this connotation applied to cigarettes, but it's not the same thing that is applied to a e-cigarette. And it's just, it's something that is it is an epidemic that is going through our schools. It very much is. I would say most of the teenagers I know vape regularly, or have in their past. And it's a super huge issue that we really need to address. And many of these teenagers are getting addicted to nicotine to extremely high levels because these vaping products come in different levels of nicotine. You will start at a lower level, something that you can more handle, and then once you get, I guess, more numbed to that and more immune to that level of nicotine, then you go up in levels. And I have friends that use upwards of level 50 nic, which is huge in relativity. I don't know what the amount of nicotine in that is exactly, but I just know that that's how they measure it.
15 seconds.
And I've had friends that have literally had mental breakdowns due to withdrawals from their nicotine because they can't have access to their vape at the moment because they're in class or their friend has it and they just can't get it at the moment. And it's a super huge issue that we really need to address for the sake of our youth.
Thank you, Mr. Marquez. Any questions?
Question for something you brought up.
Senator Carter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And you bring up a great question about, or bring up a great point, because this was shared with me from a principal in my legislative district, that when they bring kids in who've been caught 3 and 4 and 5 times with products, the students don't necessarily understand that they are actually addicted to nicotine. Is that what you're finding as well? I was shocked when she told me that. They don't think they're addicted.
110%. 110%. I know plenty of friends. And for example, the friend I just used, for example, fully believes that she is not addicted to nicotine, even though I've stated on multiple occasions that she obviously is, considered by the fact that she goes through withdrawals and goes through moments where she feels like she needs her vape. This is obviously a sure sign of addiction. And even the students that we do bring in, the students that do get caught, the 3 or 4 that do get caught, that's not even close to the huge amount of teenagers that are doing it. I would say out of the around 1,200 students that we have at our school, I could honestly say at least 800 of them are vaping. At least 3/4 of our student body are probably participating in this activity, and it's huge. It's not only replacing cigarettes, but it's going potentially further than cigarettes ever had the potential.
And Mr. Marquez, can I ask, is that just anecdotal observation?
Yeah, this would just be off of my own observation. I could say out of my 10 closest friends, at least 8 of them vape regularly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Senator Allen.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and thank you for being here today, young man. Out of your friends, where are they getting the the e-cigarette?
So, much like my peer Matt stated earlier, it's many of the same things: fake IDs, siblings, friends. A lot of teenagers very often have a plug that they go through, and for example, we in our friend group have a friend that graduated last year, so he's 18, and pretty much everyone gives him their money, and he will go and buy everyone's vape products and then hand them out to them. And these could take place during school hours, or this could take place at school activities. I've had this said friend hand out these products to one of my peers during a football game, for example, after he purchased it for him previously that day.
Madam Chairman, a
Senator
question for the
Allen.
sponsor of the bill. In our statute, is there things about selling to a minor or enabling a minor in this, buying it for them? Is there something in the statute about that? I
Senator
mean, there
Carter.
is for cigarettes. I'm just wondering if there is for this.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Senator Carter.
Yes, there is. It is a petty offense. In my conversations on what do we do about this, because it is overwhelming as a parent, as an educator, as a lawmaker, as somebody concerned about public health, this problem is so overwhelming. It's like, where do we start? Which is why I said, well, let's just go back and fix the definition that we put in statute that took this product and created a complete carve-out that isn't even remotely connected to all of the other provisions in Title 36. So, like, as a baby first step, let's just at least treat this product like a cigarette, but still the statutory penalties are petty offenses. But I mean, I cannot describe. I mean, I'm not describing it. We have our students that are describing it, and this is not unique. I would guarantee that if you went and spoke in your legislative district, they are saying the exact same thing. I've never heard the term plug, so I will add that to the vocabulary, because I do think it's important for adults in the community and parents and teachers to know the language that is around this issue so that you can even recognize it's happening. I mean, if you look at the products that I gave you a picture of, you think it's a highlighter or a thumb drive. They do not look like what you may see, the big hookahs with the thing.
Yeah.
That is not what the device that the testimony, the person that testified back in 2013 held up looks nothing like what we're seeing in
Right.
schools. So,
Because what I have seen is,
Senator
again,
Allen.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman.
that's fine.
What I have seen has originally looked like a cigarette,
Right.
you know.
that is not what we see today. And Madam Chair,
Senator
so
Carter.
as you know, the ASBA has signed in, the county superintendents have signed in. If you please look online at the people who have signed in support of this bill. Like I said, there's broad support for it. It is by no means addressing every single solitary problem we're bringing forth here, but it is a step by at least putting this product back in that piece of statute that is called the youth furnishing statutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's called, the youth furnishing statutes, because they moved it out of it. So.
I would also like to state, if I could,
Mr. Marquez.
a lot of my peers are also very uneducated on this topic as well, and I know many of today's teenagers actually believe that the use of vape products is legal at the age of 16 or above, as long as it is not purchased by them or themselves. They believe that the use of it is legal, which of course is not true, but I think putting vaping products and e-cigarettes into the same statute as tobacco would help clear some of these instances where they would understand that it is not legal at the age of 16.
Thank you, Mr. Marquez, and I don't see anybody else from this group of students who has signed in to speak. Is that correct? I wanted to commend you all for being the kind of student leaders we need so many of going forward. I'd like to also commend Jennifer Lewer, who's the Executive Director of Community Relations for Tempe High School. You're growing a great crop of young leaders, and thank you all for coming today and sharing your experiences with this committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
but stay tuned in case somebody thinks of something else that they don't know the answer to. So Mitzi Warner.